What is an ancestor? Um, a lot of people like to ask, and I think most people will like to know what is an ancestor because a lot of Africans will say they believe in their ancestors, although they do not worship them, but they still believe in them. One thing we should understand is that ancestors are not to be worshipped. And the reason why is because ancestors, they are us, but they are us who have passed away. Now, not anybody that have passed away or anybody that have died is an ancestor. To be an ancestor, you have, while you are still alive, you're still living your life under the sun, you are supposed to be in the state of knowing. You have to know, you have to be living your life in the knowing, like you have insight, you have certain knowledge, and you come into being, but you already know who you are, all right, and you share that knowledge with mankind. So just because you are born, live your life, and die do not make you an ancestor. So to be an ancestor, you have to be a being with knowledge, a being that lives into knowing. You know the foundation of the systems we are living in. You also have insights and knowledge of beyond what they call reality. So, an ancestor is a living being that have existed within your bloodline, who knew, who had certain knowledge about the world we are living in, the system we are living in, the timeline we are living in. Jesus Christ can be an ancestor, and Jesus Christ, it is an ancestor, but he's not my ancestor. All right? If Jesus Christ has children, and I'm pretty sure he did, those children should be acquiring knowledge directly from their bloodline to him. So an ancestor is an awakening being that have existed within your bloodline. So you connect with that being through your DNA, so they can show you, they can lead you, they can share with you the knowledge that they once had while they were living under the sun. But also, they can give you insight, they can give you knowledge beyond this reality, beyond death. All right, so ancestors, they are connected, they are in between death and reality. All right, so you don't have to die to access knowledge of the other side, since you already have someone who lived with knowledge, who already passed on the other side. So that's an ancestor. So what happened to those ancestors, to those people of your bloodline who died and who had the same bloodline as you but did not have knowledge of who they were, of who did not have knowledge at all? Well, they become children of the world. They have to be born again and gain knowledge. That's why actually we are here under this sun, is to gain knowledge. And we are not here, this is not a prison planet. This is, it does make sometimes I feel very sad for certain people who have reached a point of finding this place as a prison, finding this place as something to be feared, finding this place has something to change. Like we have to get away from this planet to go to the next planet. We have to get away from, the only way you can get away from this planet is to die, is to become an ancestor. All right. And the best way for you can die is if you are an ancestor. An ancestor that is alive, who knows himself or herself. That's the most powerful being that you can encounter while you are alive. And that means if you do not have knowledge of yourself, if you don't know who you are, you cannot get in contact with an ancestor. An ancestor connection goes spiritual to spirit, is a connection that goes spirit to spirit. So your spirit have to be in a state where it can access those knowledge. If you still in fear, wasting your life away in fear, wasting your life away with hatred, wasting your life away in all type of organizations under the sun, it will be very hard for you to connect with ancestral knowledge. All right. So an ancestor is someone who lived their lives like you and I, but they are mainly in your bloodline. So you connect them through your bloodline. All right. Like me right now, I will be an ancestor once I pass on, and my children and their children and children of their children, and goes on infinitely. They can access whatever what I know and whatever what the ones that came before me knew through by remembering me. So that connection that connect us from the living to the dead is your ancestor. But that ancestor, when they live their lives under the sun, they have to be in a state of knowing. They know something, they have knowledge, and they come here under the sun just to acquire more knowledge. That's an ancestor. And the ultimate project for any being is one day to become an ancestor for your brothers and sisters, for your children and their children. You cannot become an ancestor, sorry, for your brothers and sister. What I mean, you can become an ancestor for your children and their children. And they can become ancestors for their children and their children. So being an ancestor is something generational, all right? It's being passed from one generation to the next generation. All of us, without exception of who you are, you have encountered ancestors live. You have seen them. They came here, talk to you. They may be one of your parents, they may be one of your grandparents, but they are always there. And that's the reason why you have two parents and four grandparents. All right. Your grandparents from your mother's side, they are there to protect you in any matters. I'm telling you, any matters. Your mother's side is there to protect you. You see, this world we live in is a backward world. They think protections come from fathers. No, protection comes from mothers. All right? Protection comes from mother. Your mother side is the side that's supposed to protect you. And your ancestors from your father's side, they guide you. They are here to guide you. How can they guide you? For example, you have a question regarding something. Who am I? What I'm supposed to be doing here? Why can't I handle these things? Please stop asking ancestors for jobs. Once they lived here under the sun, you have to understand this system of working did not exist. So if you ask your ancestor, I want work, I want jobs, I want to be smart in school, those things never existed. Your school was the outside. Your school is the forest, and not only the forest. Many people will be like, but we don't have forest in the city. How am I going to know what I'm supposed to be using and what I'm not supposed to be using? That's why they have groceries. Those grocery stores, that's the forest. Literally, Anything you can find in grocery store, it is in a forest. So you go in grocery store and you see all the herbs, they're already there for you. This system is here, is working very hard to make things easier for you. So go ahead in a grocery store and ask your ancestors from your father's side, what can I use here to heal this thing I'm feeling? And they will talk to you, they will guide you, they will tell you, take this. Now, on your mother's side is a protective power. Nothing goes between a mother who's ready to protect his child. And that energy goes until on your grandmother, your great great grandmother. They are there on your mother's side. Those women are there to protect you with energy. All right? You feel like you are somewhere you don't feel loved. You are always not at ease. You are not at ease. Connect with those side of yourself. Your mother's side. Connect with your mother. Tell her to tell her stories of her mother or her grandmother. And imagine, sit yourself in a space where you ask protection, a peace of mind, peace within your body, and you should feel that from the next day. So, what is an ancestor? Really, you are the ancestor. From 100 years from now, you will be the ancestor. Right? You will be the ancestor. So what you need to do while you're still alive is to acquire knowledge. Acquire knowledge. Acquire knowledge. The more knowledge you have while you're still alive, the more someone within your bloodline will acquire that knowledge through you. I'm keep telling you, this world is backward. They keep saying that you came here empty, you leave empty. You do not leave this world empty. You leave this world with a lot of experiences, with a lot of knowledge. That's what you came here to do, to acquire knowledge, to facilitate lives of those who will come after you, of those who will come after you. All right, of those generations that will come after you. And most time you don't need the picture. You can look yourself in the mirror and you have to know somebody 100 years ago have lived in a body that looks exactly like yours. And that person, if there were someone of knowledge, someone who lives in truth, someone who knew who they were, beyond colonization, beyond slavery, beyond this world age, beyond this timeline, that's an ancestor. And you have to acquire that. I know I'm an ancestor. My children and their children should acquire knowledge from me if they want to, if they feel like they need to. All right, they can acquire that knowledge from me. And that's the thing with most Africans. They do not want that protection. They do not want that knowledge. They want a knowledge that comes within a book, ready packed for them to read, ready packed for them to interpret. That's what people want. People want everything that is ready packed for them. Fast food, fast spirituality, fast everything, fast, fast, fast. But ancestors' ways, they are very narrow. So you can have an ancestor, you can have a lineage. An ancestor will be born in this generation, will not be born in this one, will be born here, this one will pass, this one will pass, and this one, and then another ancestor will be born here. But it doesn't matter how many thousands of years that has passed, because this one will always be able to connect with the previous one that was alive, and this one will also be able to connect with the previous one until they reach the original. The original ancestor. until you reach there. You can. So it doesn't matter if you find yourself in a family where everybody is a little bit dumb or asleep in these religions. It doesn't matter. You can stay in those religion. Let's say a lineage here, and you stay, okay, and you stay here. Let's say this is the original ancestor. 2000 years, nobody has shown up. One day, the original always come within the bloodline. So it doesn't matter how many years have passed, the connection will always occur. Now, when the distance is a lot, when there is a lot of distance, like 2000 years, there is African families who have been living for 2000 years without any connections with the ancestors. It doesn't matter. When this happened, this child who will be born in that family after 2000 years without connection with ancestor, they will be saying this child is a witch, this child is a mad child. And this child is not mad. This child comes here to continue the connection. Once the child is born with connecting, or to be able to connect with the ancestors, and they have the children of their own, the connection continue. All right, the connection continue. So imagine here, this original had 7 children. All right, so you don't know, maybe in this line here there was no connection, but in here there was a connection. Here after 1000 years there was a connection. Now see how powerful it is. This is how ancestors powerful is. It doesn't matter if here, let's say here 2000 years no connections, but this one is here, and in this lineage there was always ancestors coming on. If this leap is too high, if this ancestor cannot get connection to the original one, he will go through the siblings connection, and that's how it goes. And this one connect to this, and this one connect to this, until they reach the original. And that's why you have, and this one here, it doesn't matter if you are Black American. It doesn't matter if, let's say for example, let me show you something. I want to show you something. I hope the question has been asked. Who's the ancestor? You are the ancestor. You are the ancestor. So let's say for example, they says the original was here, and original had 4 children. All right, and one of these 4 children, they took them away for slavery. They went for America. All right, they went for America or any other part of the world. So there was, let's say there wasn't any connection, but the original here, original ancestor is here. Original ancestor is there. So this one child of the original ancestor went for slavery. This one did not. All right, but let's say there is the ancestor again was born after 200 years. They were born. Another being came to life away from motherland. Now in America, they came alive. They are like, they are American. Now they call them Americans, but they do not feel themselves as slaves. They know why they're in America. They are here for a purpose, and they start doing that purpose. They start teaching voodoo. They start teaching all type of Africans, because the original never forget. They start teaching them very, very traditional activities, very, very traditional spirituality from the bloodline. All right, and that's how voodoo found themselves in America. All right, because some of those Black America, for sure, they came from Africa. Did they went there by slavery? I cannot confirm. All right, but it doesn't matter where you find yourself under the sun. The connection with the ancestors will always be there. All right. So another 600 years here, you still in America, no connection, no connection. It will happen. It will happen. The connection will happen again. All right. So let's say this one did not go to America by slavery, but in 2026 now, 2025, they immigrated now. All right. This bloodline now immigrated to America. Hmm? Now they immigrated to America, and they now live in the same city, let's say, okay, with the previous bloodline. They now live in the same city. This bloodline here is not going to go from 600 years. No, they are going to do the connection there directly. All right. So we are always connected, always connected. If our ancestor was Bantu, it doesn't matter what tribe I find myself in. It doesn't matter what tribe you find yourself in. If you are of Bantu bloodline, you will be able to connect spiritually with any, and I mean any, ancestor using that. And that's why they say us Africans, for example, most African, let's say sub-Saharan Africa, sub-Sahara Africa, all right, most of us, we are of Bantu tribes. Bantu is our ancestor, is our genetic, the way we dance, the way we move. This rhythm is in our DNA. So it doesn't matter what tribe I find myself in. It doesn't matter how many Bantu tribes in Africa, thousands of tribes. From Bantu tribe, there will always be one that is awakened, knowing who they are. And those were the starter of our tribes. Those who were awakened to know, those who were awakened to know the deep knowledge of Bantu, they become the tribe's makers. And most of them, they were women. First tribes makers are women. All right, but we say men have XY, right? Women have XX. There is a possibility one of the women can give one X to the son, and that son can become an awakened soul, an awakened ancestor. So ancestors, they are both women and men. So every time you say, I'm calling upon my ancestors, do not put yourself, do not put in your head it's just a man, an old man flying. No, it can be a child. They can take all type of forms, ancestors, and they are everywhere. Some of them, they are awakened, some of them, they are not awakened. It can take generations. All right, it can take generations before an ancestor awaken. And most of the time, when you are in a family where an ancestor is awakened, you will know. You will know. When you see that, you will know this is an awakened soul. Now, we have a lot of pretenders, a lot of people pretending being awakened. Being awakened, as I explained in my previous video, you have to have a certain old knowledge of who you are, and where you are going. So most people want to go back to the African ways. Where are you going back to? Because it's here already. The African ways are here. They are alive and vibrant. Maybe you are vibrating on a certain level where you cannot connect with it, because it does take training. It does take a while to accept, because to be in connection with ancestors really is an acceptation of yourself. You have to accept yourself for who you are. You have to accept really who you are. I have accept within my soul that I'm not a Christian, I'm not a Muslim, I'm not going in any synagogue or any church to find peace within myself. I don't need to do yoga. I don't do yoga. All right? I don't do yoga. I just exist. I'm an ancestor. I just exist. I know who I am. I know why I'm here, and I know where I'm going. I don't need any Bible. I don't need any book. Okay? I have all I need within me and beyond me. I'm enough. Now, you should not go your way to pretend like you're enough. Those times of weakness, I also have them, because we are in this body. This is weakness, but we can work around it by loving this body, by taking care of this body, by respecting this body, by venerating this body, because this is where this within this body I find myself. So within this body I love myself. I am an ancestor. It doesn't matter what tribes I find myself in and different generations. I'm still going to be connected to Bantu, Utu, being Ubuntu. So all those people who have been feeding on the fuel of hatred, of incomprehension, know that there is more of things you can gain from this world that goes beyond money, and that is knowledge of self. Once you know yourself, there is nothing that can be impressing you. If you have it, that's fine, but it's not going to impress you. It's just going to be, it's there, and that's good. If you can have it, that's fine. If you cannot have it, that's fine too. And that is an ancestor. So what is an ancestor? We are ancestors once we awaken to the truth of who we truly are. So you have to awaken to the truth of who you are. A lot of souls are putting to sleep when you participate in certain activities and churches. All right, those churches, they are not there to awaken you. You may be an ancestor, but you are being put asleep generations after generations. All those Africans crying like, oh, I'm breaking the generational curse. The generation curse is the lies that have been going through your lineage, your bloodline, generations after generations. So to break that curse is to say, by me, while I'm standing here, this lie is not going to the next generation. If you know something have been taught to your children, to your families, and it was a lie, you cannot convince the whole family to stop believing to that lie. Trust me, I tried. What I've learned is that I can only for myself stop continuing in that lie, continuing being hypocrite. Because seriously, I cannot go in a church and feel any connection at all. Actually, for me, going in a church is a very noisy place. Church is a very noisy place. I feel connected by listening to a certain type of music. I do not feel connected by listening any type of music. No, there is a certain type of music for different emotions. And through my emotions, I get connected that way with others who came before me. But I have to recognize, to be an ancestor, you have to recognize there were others like me. I embrace them, and I'm here because others like me will come tomorrow. And I have to prepare. I have to gain as much as knowledge I can for them to access when they need it. So, are you an ancestor? Do you want to be an ancestor for your bloodline? What are you doing? Any activities that you think you are involving yourself with, all those knowledge, you will take them with you when you go on the other side. If I want to access knowledge of something that happened in 1900s, I directly close my eyes and I got it. I am now at peace knowing that nobody colonized my ancestors. Nobody, there is nobody under the sun who can colonize them. And if it happened, it happened and it no longer exists. So the colonization affair should not be putting me in chakwa and thinking I've been colonized with this race. No race colonized you. Right now, no race is colonizing you. And if you are colonized, you are the one who's maintaining that state of being. Know that ancestors, they are timeless. They don't care of what generation. They don't care of what's taking place on world stage. They are always there. They will always be there. Once everything passed, ancestors do not go away. Because when the next generations comes, those next generation, they need those ancestors to find their ways. All right, to find your way, you need an ancestor directly that goes in your bloodline until where we go to Nkulu Wabakulu, okay, the one who started all right. So under the sun, really, we don't have a lot of ancestors by race. We only have four and big Mukulu Abakulu, big four ancestors. That's what we have. We have the one for the Bantu Africans, okay, and then we have the ones for the Americas, we have the one for Asians, we have the one for Europeans, and anything in between is what we call Arabics. These Arabics here, these Arabic people, depends if they are mixed with European and African, they can access both sides. All right, if there wasn't no conflict between the two bloodline. So the reason why people do not like to mix their bloodline, you know why? Because it can happen that the ancestor, let's say this is your bloodline, this is one ancestor, this is another ancestor, this is another bloodline. These two ancestors here were in fight. Nothing goes between them. They are fighting. But somehow here, the children of children now, they want to marry. They are in love now. Alright? The children of the children now, they are in love. They want to produce a child. There is a possibility this bloodline that is going to be produced here, because they have a connection with this ancestor, but they also have a connection with this ancestor. Even if they are born, they will not be able to connect. They will not be able to connect with neither of the ancestor. But there is something else we can do here to save them. There is something we can do for them to connect back to the ancestor. And that takes another generation. They have now to go outside of the bloodline. They have to go marry somebody else from far away. Let's say they now have to go marry somebody from here. They have to fall in love here. Alright? Now, the children that is going to be born here, the children that is going to be born from this union, they have now more chances, all right, to connect with their ancestor here or this one. This power, this conflict here will be resolved. But these things have been resolving itself in the background without people knowing, all right, without people knowing. And that's why sometimes when your two ancestors were in fight, they were not at peace. You have fall in love here, you have a child. Sometimes this child may be born a little bit crazy or a little bit dumb. They won't be able to continue the bloodline. So the bloodline is kind of finishing from here. All right. And then, or sometimes you won't even be able to have children, so you are like non-existent. So this union do not exist, so you have to go for the next union. Okay. And that's why it was forbidden. It was forbidden for these African tribes to have any type of hatred between them. African tribes, especially from one whole big Bantu tribes, it's forbidden for you guys to have any hatreds, any conflicts, any misunderstanding. But we knew we are in a human body and things happened. People fight, it's normal. That's why those rituals existed in Africa. Those rituals were mainly to reconnect with nature. When you reconnect with nature, you reconnect with the original one. You go back to nature. You reconnect with nature. You ask for forgiveness. You ask for guidance. You ask for anything to take away all that you have done, all that your children and their children have done. Most us Africans who live today, we don't need to do anything because rituals have been done hundreds, thousands of years before we were born. Ancestors have been blessing us. They knew we will reach a place where we have no knowledge of who we are. So we have been left free. All we have to do now is just to connect with them, and they shall guide you, and they shall protect you, and you should find your way, just floating on the wind of reality. So do you understand? So it's a good thing. You should not be feeling like you have something to prove. You have nothing to prove. People who came before us, those ancestors who knew so much, they have done everything. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to prove anything. We don't have to prove that we were once in Egypt. We don't have to prove that we were once in Rome. They know, we know, and the future knows. Now, we don't have to prove anything. We don't have to show them that the first library was made by us. We don't have to prove like the first mathematics was made by us. No, all you have to do is to connect with your ancestor, is to be yourself, is to be at peace, is to know that a lot of things that you see out there, they are there to maintain you in a certain vibration, so you don't connect with yourself, so you don't connect with your ancestors. So that's what is an ancestor. We are the ancestor, and everything has been done for us. We don't have to do anything else. All right, you don't have to do anything else. If they tell you you have to go in a refugee camp, go in a refugee camp. You are just here waiting for the right time. The time is ticking. What time, you may ask? The time for you to wake up. The time for you to recognize who you truly are.